sometimes when a guy's been out that long, you really got to kind of maybe well not really start all over again, but you really got to find somewhere where he'll fit.
Yeah.
It might be something you could kind of shock him with if he all of a sudden he ended up with the hurt business.
Hey, look, Nick Aldis and Brian Pillman Jr. are now both free agents. Thoughts on that, and what do you think should happen?
Well, I've always said this about Nick Aldis, man. I'm super nice guy. I love him, man. I'm hoping, there's a rumor saying that WWE may be interested in him. I don't know that for sure. But certainly I hope that somebody over there does talk to him, and I hope he gets a break and gets a chance to go in WWE. The guy's really talented, and I think the places that he's been, NWA and these places, they've just wasted him. You know what I mean? And it's not even fair to him because I've been around him and worked with him before, and he certainly gives 100% in the ring. So I hope somebody picks him up. I hope he gets a break.
Agreed.
Yeah, I've always said this, and I may have said it on this show, and I'll repeat it one more time if that's the case. Nick Aldis, him coming into WWE, there's such a great storyline just waiting to happen between him and Cody Rhodes, and there's enough history between the two of them that everybody that watched those first two matches between Cody Rhodes and Nick Aldis want to see that third and final rubber match. And in fact, I heard Cody mention about the Brock match coming up being their rubber match. Okay, now we're talking about rubber matches. The only rubber match that most people know about today is Cody Rhodes and Nick Aldis. It's time for Nick to step into the WWE. They need a storyline to bring him in and explode that story and build it slowly and let fans remember all the stuff that happened in the first time that they met.
They're kind of like a different audience. There's a lot of WWE fans who are not familiar with Nick Aldis. He's a great classic pro wrestler, and the matches were great, but they would have to show the history of what's happened between the two of them to make this make sense, and hopefully the fans would grab onto it.
Well, they got that. All that's on film. They got it. Here's two things Cody Rhodes has got going for him. Either Nick Aldis can give him a big rub, or either the Young Bucks. One of the two.
I agree. I do think it's time for Nick Aldis to show up in WWE. There's nowhere else I want to see him go at this point because I agree. He is an overly talented individual. I don't know if maybe it's a personal way or maybe just he rubs people wrong. Whatever it may be, get past it because the guy's money. He's money sitting there. Yes.
He's a wrestler.
I tell you what's wrong. He's too nice.
You can't be that in this business. That's for sure. You got to be an asshole sometimes. So.
He's too nice. And WWE, from what I heard, he'd be great down at the Performance Center training guys because he's that Billy Robinson type of.
But he's at this point. I think
trainer and ring technique.
I think that there's still money in Nick Aldis. I think they should be using him on that TV. I agree with it. He can go to NXT and be a great trainer, but he ain't ready for that. There's still money in this guy, man. Why waste him down there? Put him on that TV and put him in a good story with somebody.
Even if you're just going to feed him to Cody Rhodes before you put him down into, at the training center, feed him to Cody Rhodes. Let him have that match and let Cody have that moment because there's going to come a point where they won't be able to do that.
Well, there's so many guys there that they could feed him till he gets to Cody Rhodes. They got to build the guy, so don't give him to Cody right away. Let him make a name for himself there. Let him get some credibility there. Let him build him and then slide him on into Cody. Hey, you stop by Cody one day, you see him. Hey, I ain't forgot about you. Now let's right on walking.
But I'm sitting here thinking now, you have Cody Rhodes coming up with Brock Lesnar in the rubber match. How funny would it be to see Nick Aldis actually come out and somehow cause Cody to lose that match and start a spark between the two of them?
Nah.
Well, I think it's too quick. You can't do that right away. You know what I mean? Right now, in order to bring Nick Aldis, any of them in, they got to sit down and have a talk with them and see what direction they're going to go with them. Then we can find out whether we need to slide them into Cody or whatever. They may not want to do that right away. They may wait and do that on down the line. But I think right now I wouldn't do it. I'd let Brock, Cody, let that play out or see where they're going to go with that. and then save Nick Aldis for after SummerSlam or say your next big pick. I'd set him up for next year for WrestleMania. That's what I'd do.
Yeah. And remember, to have him run in when a large portion of the WWE fans don't know who he is, the broadcasters go, "Oh my God, it's Nick Aldis," and a lot of fans are going to know who. I mean, I know who he is. We know who he is, but we have to familiarize the audience with him.
I don't know that he's unknown, though. I think a lot of people do know who he is.
That's what I was going to say, too, Bill. You got to remember, social media is out there. He may not be on a whole lot of TV, but he's all over social media. You know what I mean? So, I think right now, social media get more views than the TV do.
We were talking about Cody Rhodes just for a second.
Yeah.
I want to take exception to something Vince Russo, who I like, came out with this tirade of what does Cody think this is? Is this a play, a Shakespearean play, or Broadway show or something? These long monologues that he's saying, I think they're incredible. He's saying it's pro wrestling, bro. I think they're incredibly enticing. I enjoy what he's doing. What about you two?
Who did you say said that?
Vince Russo.
Who's that?
Okay.
I will say this about Vince Russo because, and I'm glad you brought that up, and it has a little something else to do with Vince Russo. I saw in the last week where he was complaining, having to watch all this wrestling and stuff to do his job, and he can't wait for the day when, he doesn't have to do that anymore. This guy was coming off bitching because he has to watch wrestling to get paid for what he does. What the hell? Vince, if things are so bad that you can't sit down, do your job by watching the shows, why even bother turning on your damn camera? Quit bitching. Do your job, do what's required of it, and move on. I'll shut up now. I saw that stuff, though, and it drove me nuts.
Yeah, but the thing that drove me nuts too. And again, I like him, but the thing with me is that the thing about Cody Rhodes really turned me around the wrong way.
Let's see. Big E spoke. You okay?
Yeah,
we got to call the EMTs in.
My Tic Tacs got stuck in
your throat. Let's see. Big E spoke recently about a possible return. He said, "Quote: I feel great. Unfortunately, I don't have a timetable for a return. The great thing is, I feel 100%. I don't even feel like someone who broke their neck. My mobility is incredible and great." What are your thoughts? I think we've talked about this just recently about Big E. Where would he put him back into the WWE program now?
I don't know. I really don't know. Sometimes when a guy's been out that long, you really got to kind of maybe we're not really start all over again, but you really got to find somewhere where he'll fit.
Yeah.
It might be something you could kind of shock him with if, he all of a sudden he ended up with the Hurt business.
And of course, we know that that's being teased quite a bit right now, which I like to see. Why was the Hurt business taken from TV? I mean, what was the whole reason for busting them up in the first place?
Nobody.
Did I miss something?
We don't know. What I think is that Big E needs to come back as a top contender for one of the titles. He's got such a great look, such a great attitude. Even his interview skills are fabulous. He needs to be in there with the top tier guys. He was always, kind of comedy with his partners.
The New Day.
With the New Day, yeah. But I think it should be a new day for him. I think he needs to be a serious singles competitor going after either Gunther, Seth Rollins, or Roman Reigns. I think he could be a real threat to Roman Reigns' title.
I'd let him go right through Bobby Lashley first.
Ooh.
Why?
Because I think that's kind of a story a little bit there. You remember Big E was the world champion at one time,
Mm-hmm.
and Bobby was chasing the world title. So there's a little bit of history right there. You know what I mean? So I'd maybe put him right there with Bobby Lashley, let him destroy Bobby Lashley, then keep moving.
Well, notice Lashley has come back with that limousine recently and kind of a whole different, with the suit and the sunglasses and stuff. So maybe that's what they're planning.
Well, they kind of trying to repackage him. You know what I mean? That looks pretty good. And let me correct myself. When I said Big E come back and destroy him, I don't mean destroy him, but I mean, you know, come back and make a name for himself and use Bobby Lashley to help him make that name.